So one of my questions, you mentioned a number of different things that you've done or maybe doing. What are like your three main things that occupy your time, maybe professionally?
Professionally, my three main things these days are constantly booking shows at numerous venues in Atlanta, an independent talent buyer, and then trying to nowadays, being that the company's growing, it's a lot of times speaking with potential investors and sponsors and people like that, and
Mhm.
trying to get the next big event off the ground. Which the bigger you go, and you're still learning, always it never particularly gets easier. You see,
Yeah,
it gets funner and it's more exciting at times, but so that's that. Doing that, then the podcast is we're filming that right now. 2 to 3 shows a week on average right now. We decided let's take it full fledged since things are kind of slowing down on the other stuff. I'm also in the movie industry, and we're all on strike right now.
yeah,
Or our union is not on strike, but actors and writers are. So the industry effectively is. So
that's
we have a
the
lot. So we have a lot of downtime right now, and that's one of the reasons we're taking advantage of that with the podcast. That and then just sitting around thinking, man. I'm a forever thinker and always trying to those two things. And then when I'm working the movie industry, that alone takes up pretty much. I don't really have any time left for it because, truthfully, being an independent talent buyer and festival promoter, that when everything's in motion, that can take up all your time on its own.
Yeah, gotcha. No, that's really cool. Is it a stroke of luck that so many awesome bands come from Atlanta? And are you, just by the nature of what you do, it seems like, and this podcast or your podcast, it seems like you're good friends with like all of them.
Yeah, some of it's stroke of luck. Then I think it's also just my persistence as a person. When I was younger, I was in a band for many years. We toured and doing stuff. And then I think the main stroke of luck is having the Masquerade in Atlanta.
Hmm.
I think that music venue, for me especially, is where I learned about the music that I like. And then I got to meet the owners and some of the managers and people when I was younger. Our band was playing. Then our band started working with a haunted house that they had out back.
Oh, cool.
And then I started working in the festival world with them on big festivals that they owned pieces of. And through that, I was able to meet so many people and learn about the business, and then eventually work for the Masquerade for many years, which was great too, and just learned so much. And then the friendships and everything just stems out from there because that's such a legendary place. Everybody wants to be there. All the biggest bands tour there. Are you familiar with that venue?
No, no. I'm sure I've been to Atlanta, but honestly, I think it's been like it was through the airport. I don't think I've really been to Atlanta.
Well, they
Yeah.
moved. They were 25 years in one location, and it's always been 3 venues in one, 3 rooms in one, and it's heaven, hell, and purgatory. And
Oh, nice.
so purgatory is a 300 cap room, hell's a 500 cap room, and heaven was 1,000, 1,100. And then they left there and went to historical underground Atlanta, which is in the very heart of our city, and a old tourist trap thing that's went through many ways. And they've been there a few years now, and they've upgraded. Now it's a 1,600 cap big room, 666 in hell. I think they hold 666 people in hell now, something like that. And,
They
but
gotta have a sign.
every size band touring goes through there.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, that's cool. We actually, I don't know if it's there anymore. When I was younger, in DC, there's a place called Heaven and Hell, and I think it was just 2 floors: Heaven upstairs, Hell downstairs.
I don't know about that one. I've seen other folks using it. I've seen festivals do naming stages that way and stuff like that. I'm always like, I know where you got that.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And did you always have, I'm gonna give you a compliment. And what I was telling Kelly, because Kelly, so let me give you some background. I interviewed Kelly Hester.
I watched a good part of that interview too.
Right on. Yeah. If you watch the trailer, it's almost a little embarrassing because my producer kind of made it a little erotic, a little more so than I wanted him to. But tasting the pickles. But
I'll do that. That was the part that I watched. My mouth was watering. Those pickles are so good. Everything he does. I literally was thinking, man, I wish I had a jar and a beer right now.
Oh, the onions, dude. So, well, yeah, big shout out to Kelly and Michelle. Yeah, so he sent me the one he did with you, and which was great because it was really informative and helped me kind of prepare for talking to him. Not that I prepare that much, but listening to you, I was cracking up so much, dude. I just thought, I thought you're very genuine and heart and endearing too, but like just hilarious, dude.
Oh well.
So I guess the question is, or the compliment is,
Yeah.
were you always that way, and is that why it kind of naturally led to having a show like this, where you're, the main thing is talking, right?
Yeah, I think it is kind of a natural. I was a class clown as a kid, and I was telling somebody the other day, I've always, even as a young person, wanted to be an entertainer, just a lust for being just a fucking attention whore, almost, And so I've always, I wanted to be a comedian when I was a little kid, like first grade. I remember not and thinking smart about it too, like, oh, I'm gonna have to get bits. You don't just go up there. I acknowledge that, and whatever. Never went down that road, but I've always considered myself an amateur comedian. I enjoy making people laugh. I enjoy funny little sayings and stuff like that. Just my grandfather was full of them. My grandfather talked that way. He was real country, and he had always had really funny country sayings, ways of looking at things, and he definitely passed that on to me.
Dude, I was cracking up on the last one. I think you're talking about, I've never heard of this place, but because it's not up north, but Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
If someone criticized Buc-ee's, you're like, you're not only wrong, but you're stupid. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so after I watched that, I'm like, oh man, I wonder if he'll come on the show. So I really appreciate you giving me.
I appreciate you all reaching out and asking, man.
I love all kinds of music, but definitely the go-to is metal for me. If you know me, Mastodon is the number one. So I want to talk to you about them a little bit in a bit, but they're number one, just by far for me. But mostly metal. I like a lot of other stuff too, Steely Dan, some cool classic stuff and whatnot. But are you is that kind of your deal too? Is metal the go-to in your life, or is it really spread out?
When I was younger, it was definitely the go-to, and it still kind of is, but I find myself listening to less and less metal in my spare time. I have tinnitus really bad from years of just metal and touring and stuff like that. So sometimes you just don't want to be blaring all the time. And the other thing is I'm a talent buyer. I listen to tons of new music. I unfortunately don't like a lot of it. I think that's the double-edged sword of technology being so good. Like, I'm so happy with the equipment that allows me to do this show the way I'm able to produce it, which used to be, a television show amount of shit. But that same stuff allows people to release music and to do things and get going. It just isn't of caliber. And I don't know, so I don't listen to that much new music in general that I'm finding that I like. So I end up resorting to old stuff a lot. So when I'm going to listen to metal, it's the same metal I've listened to for 25, 30 years, it feels like. And new stuff I like, I don't know. I like everything, but like J. Roddy Walston in The Business, that's not really metal. It's not metal at all. I don't even know. I listen to a lot of blues, Stevie Ray Vaughan, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff. Recently, just that new song from that kid Oliver Anthony that has went viral.
The redhead guy.
Yeah, Richmond from North Richmond.
I still need to listen to that song.
Yeah, man, it's it's good, and I loathe today's country, and it's not today's country. It's country. It's real like bluegrass country with a real voice, and his message is super simple. The lyrics are super simple, but it's connecting with a lot of people. It's connecting with a lot of people. Whenever it got on my radar, it had been released for 10 days. He was effectively a nobody, and it had over 30 million views.
And my understanding is he turned down a big chunk of money because he didn't want to be.
I seen a headline that said that, and I mean, anybody with common sense, I think you would think he just entered the room, and they're offering you that kind of money. But let's take a break. Let's hold up for a minute.
Well, hold on. Let's just hear him out.
But no, I heard that song and was like, wow, he's a really, really good songwriter, and it's definitely worth a listen. And the rest of his stuff, I checked out a couple of things on YouTube. Really good. really cool to see. That's the other thing, that this new world, he says that the new world we're living in, that's one of the things. But the new, how being put on YouTube like that can take somebody who's effectively an underground nobody musician, still just go and make them a superstar overnight.
Yeah, or I mean, it's kind of a beautiful thing in some ways, just not being beholden to a gatekeeper. If you have good content, if you can deliver something, and usually if it's in a niche that is impactful to people, it sounds like you can maybe see those numbers rise, which is great.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, I guess that my deal, that's the whole thing, is just communicating with as many people and getting on the same page as many people as you can with what, if you're putting something out. I mean, so I think that's, yeah, good for him.
Yeah, that's cool. It's funny. I haven't listened to it yet, but yeah, I understand it's political. Part of the show too. It's a weird thing. I'm still figuring it out, but you know, I've tried to talk about things I'm passionate about, metal being a big one. That's why you got radical metal, but that's a play on radical middle.
I got you.
Because, you know, there's a radical left, a radical right. Well, what about a radical middle, man?
Radical middle, man. Yeah, that's cool.
Like sometimes I agree with them and sometimes I agree with them. I don't know.
No, yeah. Well, that's the common sense, man, these days.
Yeah, but I'm trying to, part of that is a principle I'm trying to follow is like clarity comes through engagement, and like that's with this, that's with anything, but also with folks that maybe I didn't understand before. Like, you know, just a couple days ago, I interviewed a guy in QAnon, or it was a big Q guy.
Okay.
And just to understand it, because I didn't get it, you know, and it was so like refreshing to realize we were like really similar.
Yeah, well, is he still a QAnon, or is he just like, oh, I went for it?
No, he's in it. So it's going to be like a 4-parter, I think.
Yeah.
Because the first part, I think we just agreed on a bunch of stuff. But for this one, it was kind of just basic stuff. There wasn't much to disagree about. I know we are going to, and that's up. We said let's start there, then we'll go have other parts, and there's going to be plenty to disagree upon. Agreeably, you know. With and all that kind of
stuff. A good
stuff.
Conversation like that where people, yeah, a good debate's always good. It's just especially since you don't get to see a reasonable one very often anymore.
I know that's kind of what fuels that passion for me. That piece of it is I'm not seeing it. I mean, there's a few voices out there, but not seeing it a whole lot. So trying to cultivate that, but also trying to, you know, talk to people I want to talk to in the metal world and all that kind of stuff. And
right.
And speaking of, I had a question for you too. Like I've met Mastodon a few times, done like the VIP experience and whatnot. I've actually been emailing with Bill, who's agreed to come on my show. I'm not sure when it's going to happen. We tried to do it a couple times, and then
mailing Billy down can be hard sometimes.
But my question for you is, and I don't have any, I haven't even asked or tried to get Brent Hinds, but I'm curious if you have any tips on interviewing Brent Hinds, because I know you have, but I think I would be maybe scared to death.
Well, Brent is a good old boy. That's the truth. Brent is your good old boy. And the other thing, and he's a sensitive man, and he's a wild child. Yeah. He's not playing the part of Brent Hinds. He fucking is Brent Hinds.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've known, Brent's a wild man. He's got something, but he gets really, and I've done it too in my early days of interviewing him with different stuff and hanging out. He does not like flattery. It really makes him really uncomfortable. He's still, as to be the legend that he's grown to be, he still doesn't process it really well and handle it well. He likes fun, cool questions. He likes talking about monsters and motorcycles, and he's a dude, but he just doesn't know. And I can relate, even on the small celebrity that I achieved with my band and the things back in the day. Nothing's really more awkward than an overeager fan. It's really, people aren't made to deal with that. It's weird. It's really weird. And I get it at times with that, but anybody that was looking for advice on if they get a chance to interview Brent, just be genuine, be yourself. Don't kiss his ass because it gets you nowhere. He don't like it. And just talk about fun, cool stuff. I mean, there's, like I said, Creature from the Black Lagoon. That'll get you. That's 30 minutes right there with him. Dracula, there's another 30.
So you got some things kind of cooking. What's the thing you're most excited about right now?
What I'm most excited about is the potential to bring back the festival that I've had the longest, Slaughter Q. The pandemic knocked it out along with a lot of stuff. Everybody not complaining. It is what it is. But as an independent festival promoter, those things cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce, and we just had the wind knocked out from us, and we're working really hard to get that going again. There's a lot of people that are excited about it and showing interest in backing it and doing the things we need to make it happen. And so that's what I'm most excited about going in the future. And then just growing SHP in general. Everything that we've been doing, the podcast, the shows, the festivals, they're all meant to hold each other up, is the big vision of the company.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of the shows I've done recently with the podcast are of artists that are coming up on shows that I'm playing or have booked in the recent, coming up in the future. So it's like, the synergy of the show, the podcast, the show, let's do some music videos. Let's do all kinds of stuff that all benefits the whole thing.
No. Not just concerts and the podcast. It could be, it's productions.
It's production. It's content. It's online content that all feeds the want to come to a live show.
Oh, nice. Can you give me some insight into the guts of promoting a festival like that? You mentioned like getting investors. I'm assuming that you have to talk to a lot of people, but they get their advertising up there and they, pay a premium on that. But I don't know anything.
Well, I mean, that's basically how it works. On the simplest way to say it. You take an event, grow it into something that has eyeballs on it, and then with the sponsors, you're essentially selling them advertise it. And the bigger your attendance is going to be, the more eyeballs, the more value that advertisement is. And then with certain brands, if there's a product involved, more than just like if it was a metal event and Verizon, we're not going to sell phones at the event, but yes, I can make it the Verizon stage, and there's tons of advertisement. But if we're talking about Budweiser, not only can I make it the Budweiser stage, but we can sell a fuck ton of Budweiser too. So that changes the dynamics, and there's stuff like that. And then there's just angel investors and people, with big money that would see that are fans of metal and like, yeah, what do you need? We can potentially put that up and get our, get a kickback off of it and have a good time. But it's it's all easier said than done, that's for sure.
I can imagine it's like a million moving parts. Do the bands help you out a little bit, or maybe take a pay cut?
No, not anymore, because I mean I've gotten to a point now where I take pride in being able to put on shows that do well enough to pay all my artists and pay my staff. For the longest, I had friends and people that helped me and took cuts, and we did stuff, and they knew I wasn't making any money, but that only works for so long, is the truth. And I've been doing it too long to do that. And I still have one of my closest friends, he laughs about it because it's probably 7-8 years ago. Back in those days, he was near me and I was paying a couple people out, and he understood, but he guilt tripped. He was like, well, you paying them, but you ain't paying me. And I told him, I said, dude, the curse is you're too close. You're too close. You're too close to me. You're getting fucked. You're getting fucked because you're too close. It's just, I'm sorry for you, but you're my brother. It's just, you're fucked because you're too close.
That's cool. Yeah. Especially if you want to see it grow. Yeah. I see that now. You can only go so far if you're just getting favors from your friends.
Yeah. And then also the quality of whatever you're doing, if it's that, once you're growing and get to a certain point, a lot of these roles that you're putting friends in and people in, the role itself, the needs grow out to where you need somebody who wants to do that role as their position in life. Or even then you get to the point where you are actually hiring people that are professionals in that type of role.
Yeah.
Versus in the beginning, you're looking for friends that show an aptitude and, hey, you think you could draw me a shirt? You could probably run a Facebook campaign, probably. What do you think?
Yeah, well, that sort of inspires who I asked to come on here too. Folks that are, and I put you in this category, folks that have paved their own way to do what it is they want to do, and are friggin' figuring it out.
That's I love a doer. I love a doer.
Yeah, I just asked another guy who's done a bunch of Mastodon posters, and then Kyler Sharp. I don't know if you've heard that name. I think he's in Texas. I might have that wrong, but I just pinged him because I was like, because he just posted a picture. He's with everybody from Metallica and the new Pantera.
Oh yeah,
with his new awesome Pantera poster. And I'm like, oh man,
that's a hell of a gig.
How an artist gets from doodling to making posters for Pantera.
Yeah, right. No, that's
amazing.
I look forward to that one. Hopefully,
yeah, that'll be coming up soon. But yeah, I just admire it. I think I've always been a little bit of a pussy and kind of just going the safe route. So when I see people making their own way, doing their own thing, and willing to go through the fire and the pain of not maybe doing well at first and welcoming failure and learning from failure and then doing well. I love it. I have to mention Tom Cheshire too.
Oh, Tommy boy, yes.
Bucket of fish. He's been a great inspiration too. It was just on his Cosmos TV show, and he came on Radical Metal. But he's another guy, another example, I think, just going for it.
Dude, he's a liver. There's people that are doers and hustlers, and me and him have had this same conversation, and we've like, man, I really dig you. And I was like, dude, I dig you too. And I like your style, and I like that you're fucking going for it. And it's like, ditto. It's too easy to sit sedentary in this life and just do nothing. And you see people doing it, and it's kind of, I don't know. It's really weird for me to have conversations with folks that don't have a goal or something to look forward to better themselves. I wish I could get to there. Even if you can't, I don't understand what life would be like to just be literally going through the motions with no destination in mind.
Well, you want me to tell you about it? I'll tell you.
But I'm saying it's not. It seems like such a foreign thought to me, because ever since a kid, I've always had a drive to let's do this, let's do that, and see something towards the future where let me land this kickflip, whatever it was. I'm always looking forward to achieving something.
I think for me, it was, I was maybe typical in a lot of ways, where if I'd fail at something, I really took it hard. It wasn't till much later where I'm like, failure is awesome.
You got to learn to love it. And I think that's the thing too. I still take it hard sometimes, and that's okay. Take it hard for a little bit, and then pull it out and deal with it. Now, I mean,
but it's a great teacher. It just teaches.
It's the only teacher. It's the only teacher for me. I don't learn from the wins.
Yeah.
If anything, the wins hurt me more than anything. The win, especially the easy wins, because then you're just like, well, that was nothing.
Yeah,
and then you sit back and you kind of relax. The worst thing in the world is a pat on the back. So it creates I did do good enough. Well, I don't need to go to practice tomorrow. Or, two girls told me my arms was looking good. I don't need to hit the gym tomorrow. Only time I do better is whenever I lose, or, so.
It's important to have
it's a necessity to win.
Yeah, and to understand how it is a necessity to win. And that's just something I didn't figure out for a long time. And then I think for me, just got comfortable. I have a job. I'm a government contractor. The bills are paid, and I mean, it's not like rich or anything, but the bills are paid, and the family's healthy.
That was my nightmare joining the movie industry. It was my fear of that would happen. And on some levels it did. But you just got to keep going through it, like you're doing right now. You're doing that stuff, but all right, let's make the time to do this stuff and take a shot on something else. Yeah,
totally. Well, it's like a realization you kind of wish would come sooner, but I think it just comes in its own time, But I don't want to be stuck in that prison. And it's the pain of being stuck in that prison is far worse than not going for it. You know what I mean?
You're gonna love that Oliver Anthony song.
Really?
Dude, it hits on all cylinders. I fell into it like at midnight one night, just fucking off on YouTube, and then went down a rabbit trail of watching people's reactions to it, because that was just the video was up, and I watched people from every walk of life, for black, white, Mexican, liberal, right,
Nice.
right down the middle, and every person's eyes went, "Holy shit." What's his
name again?
And his name's Oliver Anthony. But some stuff you just said is what it's just kind of what he's talking about right in the beginning. Is like, I got to do something different. And
no, that's cool. And doesn't he talk? Is another big passion of mine. And I don't know, we don't need to go down this rabbit hole, but absolutely willing if you want to. But Bitcoin is another kind of passion of mine. And so I'm only making the connection because doesn't he talk about inflation?
Yeah,
the dollar decreasing in value.
Yeah, he does. He does in it. No, man. I probably would be. I have some Bitcoin in my portfolio, but not a crazy amount. It's down. I know that, motherfucker. But 2016, I had a half a coin.
Yeah.
For like $200.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And everybody and their mama was telling me, "You get rid of that shit. It ain't ever gonna hit on nothing." And I did. I got rid of my half a coin.
Yeah.
Into the so yeah, that's my Bitcoin story.
Yeah. That I'm sure there's a lot of people that did the same thing. I have some friends that, you know, had a bunch and got scared, I think. Which it's, you know, it's so volatile. I get it. I think I was introduced to it by someone who was a pretty good coach with it, a friend of mine who actually is on the show too, a guy named Ronnie Benton. But his whole thing was like, hold on for dear life. Just hold it. Don't worry about the ups and downs.
Well, that was my thing. In looking at it now, was like, I wish it just would have been a time in my life when I was a little older and it was $200. It was nothing, even though, you know, at that time it was worth it. But half a coin, even though my, like, whatever I have now is down, still what, 20 grand at least? How much is a full coin worth now? I haven't looked.
Whole one's 26,000. It went down. It's dipping right now. Actually,
it's a hell of a come up from $200.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. People, when they say, "Well, Bitcoin, it's you know, too volatile," but if you look at it from the beginning, it's like this. I mean, it's.
Well, I always looked at it growing up in a pawn shop. I remember some of the lessons I learned in life, and one of them that always stuck with me and how I think about stocks totally is in investing like that was this guy one time brought in a penny, or no, it was a dime, to my father, and I was so young I don't even know what it was, and I've never asked him again. Hey, what? He wouldn't remember, but I remember him pulling out his loop, looking at the dime, and going, "All right, cool, I'll give you 50 cents." The dude went, "Oh, this is blah, 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 blah. You don't give me 50 cents?" And he said, "A dime turning into 50 cents? You wouldn't be crying if you had 100 of them. You wouldn't be complaining if just because you only have one share. If that's a big come up if you have more." And so that's kind of the way I always looked at it, especially with the Bitcoin stuff. And then Doge. Did you do any Doge?
I bought it. I think I still have. I think like $20 because as a joke, kind of, and just curious how it goes. But the whole Doge and Elon Musk connection is worth watching.
Back when the Doge popped off, I caught that wave. I say I caught it. I caught it for the ride, having the fun.
Yeah.
But like a day and a half before it exploded, I put like $600 in, all into Doge.
Oh, wow.
Rode it all the way up to like 3,500, and then just being stupid, having fun with it. Didn't care. Stayed it. Rode it all the way to the ground.
Oh man, that's the same story, but with there's a famous guy. I can't remember his name now, but he made on that rise. He made $1 million, I think. And same thing. He just decided to keep it, and now he's pretty much back to zero.
Well, this a lesson learned again. You only learn if any time a stock that I have starts jumping that high above anything, even if it keeps on going, at a certain point you got to pull out. Don't ride it into the ground. Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Wow, I didn't think we'd get to Bitcoin. we're hitting all my passions here, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey man, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish I asked you? Do you ever do these shows with other people besides?
No, I'm going to be doing Tom here soon as well. He's reached out to me before.
Nice.
Back when I was in a band and we were touring, I would do magazine interviews all the time and stuff like that. But since this world's come up, no, I think this is it. I think this is the first. I think you're the first. You busted my cherry of the podcast.
I got you before Tom. That's gonna make that.
Yeah,
something I can tell and talk to him about. Oh, that's cool, man. Hey, what was the name of the band you're in? I probably should have known.
Oh this. Yeah, Legion X.
Legion X. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, we toured for like 5 years or so, and we were a band for a little over 10. But just local band riggers. It's really hard to do stuff when you're doing that. We got our shit together for a little while and kept going, and then people started having kids and shit like that happened. We were lucky enough in 2013 we won a Georgia Music Award, which is kind of was at the time Georgia's version of the Grammys. It was like an award with every genre and shit. That was pretty cool. Made everybody's parents happy.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, that's really impressive. I got this band, this Tridem, but same thing. We all have kids, and I don't think any of us want to tour.
Well, the cool thing is about it now, and we talk about it on the podcast I had to do with all these new younger bands that are touring, and even me and Christian talked about it now. That's the cool thing with the internet and streaming and stuff like that. And if you have a budget and you have good songs, you can release songs, release music videos, release merch, get hype going, there are artists that go do that for a year, 2 years, and then their first tour, they're playing 2,000-seat theaters and old churches and shit like that. These big. And that's where they start at because of the revolution. That I think of the country singer. He was on Rogan the other day. Zach Bryant, I think that might be his name. Brian, one of the big country guys who's young now. He started like that. He's like his first show was like 2,500 people, other than playing like a bullshit little bar gig, like at Sudruckers or some Crab Shack, But
now I remember. I watched that. Yeah, I watched clips of that show. Yeah, that's insane. Was that the kid that was playing it? He was in the Navy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he just started posting videos of his guitar playing like on a ship.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know where his videos were, but yeah, he hit it. So that's just a testament to what the new stuff is. Same with that new kid popping off now. Yeah, hopefully see more of that, and then maybe we'll see some of that in the movie industry stuff too. That's what's a weird thing right now. Everybody's talking about that's involved with that. What's this? The strike's been going on for well over 6 months, I guess, at this point. And the studios have blatantly said, we're just going to wait on everybody they don't have 6 and 8 months worth of rent money put on back in. We're going to sweat them out, and then we'll fucking crush them. Well, that pissed a lot of movie stars and big people off that do have capital and do things. And I think it's going to, Jason Bateman and one of his friends started a production company that raised the line, the line above and below the line of the phrase of in the movie industry of people that get back in deals and things like that, and kind of just above the line. They lowered the line to make it inclusive to different departments and people that never were. The payments different. The studio's bullying stuff is going to change the industry the same way the music industry got changed when they were greedy and didn't roll along with streaming, and then everything happened. Some shit's about to. That's my take on it. Some shit's about to happen. It's going to force to change the industry, and I think it's going to look like is a lot of movie stars and people that have serious capital creating their own smaller production companies, doing smaller things. That's the other thing. I worked on Walking Dead for a few years. When you we're out in the middle of the fucking woods. It's 3 people down there making a fire, eating on a squirrel or whatever the hell they might be doing. You turn the camera around, there is 175 people standing there with their thumb in their ass, all of them getting paid $1,500 a week.
Yeah.
And you don't need that anymore. Going back to the conversations with the technology and stuff, all you need are quality cameras, quality camera operators, and producers and people that have a good mindset, and a couple department heads on a couple things. That's what I think is going to happen. Is you're just going to see people that want to work putting their money where their mouth is and saying, fuck these companies. We don't need them.
Well, yeah. Well, and the way you put it is probably the best thing for the industry. I mean, what's the alternative? The big budgets and a million focus groups And you know,
the other thing is that, well, with AI coming in, I don't know what you're supposed to do with that, because so just go. This isn't a union issue, but it still applies. Background actors, they don't want to pay background actors anymore. You'll come in one time if it's a Marvel movie or Disney. You'll come in, you'll get paid one day, it's $100 and something for your day rate. They'll scan your face, all this shit, and now they own your likeness forever. And bon voyage, you're never going to get hired for Marvel again. We already got you. We don't need you. And to all the way to a point when they have, I don't know what the number is, 30,000, 50,000, 100,000 headshots and people in their system. They literally don't ever have to hire another extra again. Just always go into the file, the Rolodex.
Yeah, I was just reading about the same thing about extras and AI. Dude, I think AI is I mean, that's another can of worms, but I mean, I am not feeling positive about that at all.
I go back and forth with it. I don't know. It's one of these things that I don't, it's not that I'm positive about it. I just don't know how you put it back in, and how it's capitalism, and that's what we do. And I don't know how you're going to put
out of the bottle. That's for sure. It's out of the bottle, so you might as well just accept it in a way.
Well, it also feels like it's just another part of the Industrial Revolution, kind of. You know, when the tractor showed up, it put a vast, significant part of the whole world's population out of business. That's what farmers were doing and stuff like that. And then, you know, I think it was Gary Vee said this. He was kind of something. He's like, in the 90s, when Amazon showed up, you didn't care. You didn't own a bookstore. You didn't care. In the late teens and stuff, when Uber showed up, you didn't care. You didn't own a medallion in Manhattan, a taxi cab medallion. You didn't care. But now it's just the revolution is still coming. Now it's hitting shit where it is in your department again. That's just how things go. And that's a take. You know, I'm not sure I fully agree with it, because because I don't know, art feels so much more precious to me than that other stuff. But it's definitely a take that you got food for thought.
Yeah, and you guys were talking about it with a guy from Horace. What's his name? I missed his name.
Kristen Limbach.
Yeah, and sorry, I just watched that one, so that's the one that's fresh in my memory. But I think he said nothing will replace the live show.
Right, exactly.
The spirit of the live show. I thought that was a really good point. But for me, I just think I do think there'll be a great period, especially for people who adopt it and use it for themselves. I think there's going to be probably a great period where that's leveraged and very helpful. But it's the thing that scares me is just the exponential growth, and how that exponential growth gets, more quantum.
No, I totally agree.
In nature,
the unknown, and watching it, it's as fast as it's growing. Is it already doing what we fear? Is it making it bad? How did y'all get so much smarter so faster? You know, you just got to rolling, or is it doing it?
Oh, another secret, ulterior motive I have of talking to you is that when I do come to Atlanta, I want to hang out with all the cool kids.
Definitely, man. Hit me up. We'll get together. I will make sure we get to the Earl, to the Flatiron, Kelly, myself, maybe T-Sesh will be in town. Who knows? Might even be able to rub elbows with a little bit of the Masto boys if they're around. You never know. That's the good thing about Atlanta. It's just a melting pot of cool motherfuckers of all walks of life.
I even talked to Tom about it. I'm like, hey, let me know when you go back to Atlanta. Maybe we can plan it, and I can meet you when you're there.
Yeah, definitely.
I might go down and see him in Puerto Rico too, which sounds, that'd be dope.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, it would be. I'll tell you what though, if you come to Atlanta and you're gonna play with these boys, get your liver ready.
I know.
No, I mean, you say and you may know. I don't know you, but I'm just telling you. I don't party like I used to whenever I was doing the band stuff. Now that most of the time when I'm out, there's shows and stuff that I'm running. I have to deal with money and stuff like that at the end of the night. So I just don't have my drinking arms under me like I used to.
I was going to ask you about that, because that can be exhausting, right? I mean, you're in a business where it's really it doesn't revolve around booze and drugs and everything, but it's always around. How do you keep your sanity, and how do you know how to be moderate when you need to be? And do you have that? I look at you and I kind of see a guy that's maybe disciplined about that stuff. But I bet it's hard to not, want to just rage when everybody else is raging. And that's kind of the business you're in.
It's just one of those things I learned over the years. When the band was touring Legion X, I was the tour manager of the band. So there were many a nights I remember jokingly cussing out the band, and they're all giggling and laughing, hammered in the van, drunk as shit in the night. And I can only have a couple beers because I got to make sure this scumbag promoter don't try to pull one on us at the end of the night. And so check on them, get to go to the merch money. Just, somebody's got to have a little bit more of a head on their shoulders. So it kind of started there, and then just going out. I don't know. I will have a drink. I'll smoke a joint and stuff like that. But I've always been good too of knowing, we've hit that mark. I've never had a problem with that kind of deal. I'm not the kind of guy that ever really gets so hammered he's puking out in the parking lot and did that,
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha.
And that's the other thing, goes back to just growing up in a pawn shop. It's instilled in me, don't fuck up the money. That's a lot. Right, don't fuck up the money.
Yeah. Well, that's a good. Hey, whatever works for the incentive, and that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, and then anything can happen, and then as I get older too, I like operating on my shows a certain level of professionalism. Things happen. You want to have a good head on your shoulders to be able to handle issues if they arise.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I love booze, but I do notice that maybe in the older years that it does diminish my drive and creativity.
Oh,
and I get way more of a buzz. It sounds really cheesy, but much more of a buzz from the getting things done.
It's a real thing. There's that cross, like you said, you get a little older and and the whole time the hangovers are ungodly now.
Yeah.
That's what kills my productivity. If I go have a night like I used to when I was young, a real night with the boys, it could take me 2-3 days to recover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to hold back if I come down there.
No, we're not going to hold back at all. None of us will. It'll be one of those recuperate ones. I've learned now I'll drink damn liquid IVs, the Attaboys, all these electrolyte supplements whenever I know I'm about to need to stretch it out.
Oh yeah.
We'll get ready for you.
Right on, man. Right, I'm going to hold you to it.
Sounds good, my man. Appreciate you having me.
Hey, thanks so much, dude. I'll send this to you I don't know if you want to look at it or if you had anything you want to
There's nothing. You're good. You're green lit. Let's rock and roll with it. Send it to me when you tag me and all that good shit when you put it out.
Hey, for sure. Hey, thanks again, Syd. Really great to meet you.
No, it was a pleasure, and I kind of look forward to doing it in person for sure.
Yeah, man. All right, cool. Hey, have a great evening and say hi to Kelly for me.
I will do. Cheers, man. Bye.